Tonight, you will do something you have done thousands of times. You will lie down. You will close your eyes. You will wait. You might hear the room. You might think about tomorrow. You might turn over and tell yourself you are still awake. And then nothing. The next thing you know, it is morning. Somewhere in there, you crossed from being awake to being asleep. You remember trying. You have never once remembered succeeding. Most people assume that part is obvious. You went unconscious. There is nothing to remember. That is not quite right. Falling asleep is not a switch. You do not black out. You stay in there thinking for minutes. You made memories at that border. Something came back and took them. Wow, and there are people who can tell you almost exactly how much was taken. University of Arizona, 1994. James Wyatt and Richard Bootzin wanted to know what happens to memory right at the edge of sleep. So put yourself in their lab. You are lying down. You are drifting. Words are being read to you. Real words, meaningful ones. You hear them. Then you fall asleep. A few minutes later, someone wakes you and asks what you heard. You will not have it. Not the words from after you dropped off. You would expect that. The words from the minutes before. Sleep reached backwards. They ran it again in 1997 with 30 people, recording brain activity this time. Wake someone 30 seconds in and their memory is intact. Wake them at 10 minutes and the 4 minutes before sleep are gone. The information got all the way to your ears while you were still awake. Then something erased the path back to it. That is the first clue. And it is the smaller one. Because there is no single second when you become asleep. Not one that everybody would agree on. As your eyes close, the alpha waves of relaxed wakefulness break apart. Slower theta activity comes up. Your muscles let go. Sounds stop having a grip on you. That is stage N1, the lightest sleep there is. And it is so shallow that if someone shakes you awake inside it, you will deny it. You will tell them you were never asleep. You will mean it. In 2018, Fan Chi-Xiao's team put 36 people inside an MRI scanner and let them fall asleep. Then they woke them and asked one simple question. Were you asleep just now? In that first stretch of N1, nearly half the time, people said no. Their brain activity said otherwise. Sit with what that means about you. You are not a reliable witness to your own sleep. You never have been. You have been answering that question wrong your entire life. Sleep does not arrive everywhere at once. One part of you is already gone. Another part is still listening to the room. And in that borderland, your thinking starts to come apart. You are thinking about an email. Then you are standing in your childhood home and you did not travel there. A voice says something from nowhere. An idea that felt completely logical dissolves the second you look at it. That state has a name. Hypnagogic. You already know what it feels like. You play something for too long, you close your eyes, and the shapes are still moving. Harvard 2000. Robert Stickgold sat people in front of Tetris for hours, then watched them fall asleep. The blocks came back, falling and turning behind their eyes. Then he did it with 3 patients whose memory systems were damaged. Ask them the next morning what they had played, and they could not tell you. They had no idea they had ever seen the game. But at the edge of sleep, they saw the blocks. Their brains were replaying something their minds could not reach. The recording was still running. The narrator had already lost access to it. Your brain does that to you every night. Not with a game. With your day. And then it gets stranger. Because that state is not only strange. It might be useful. 2021, the Paris Brain Institute. Celia Lecoq and Delphine Udiette gave people a maths problem with a hidden shortcut buried inside it. Then they let them rest, holding a small object loosely in one hand. This is Edison's trick. Dali used it too. You doze, your hand opens, the object hits the floor, and the sound pulls you back. Here's what they found. If you spent even 15 seconds in N1, you were nearly 3 times more likely to find the hidden rule. 83% against 30 for the people who stayed awake. But if you slipped past N1 into deeper sleep, the advantage vanished completely. There is a narrow window, right at the doorway. Your thinking loosens just enough to connect things it never would otherwise, and you are not allowed to keep any of it. The same team later showed it runs the other way as well. Rest that stops at N1 leaves you having forgotten more than rest that goes deeper. And there is one last reason you will never catch the moment yourself. To watch yourself fall asleep, you have to stay awake enough to watch. You have to think, I am still awake. I am still awake. I am still. But the watching is itself a waking act. Every time you check, you move the finish line. There is no closing sentence. Nothing announces itself as the last thought. The narrator simply stops leaving records behind. And the word for that doorway has been sitting in the language the whole time. Hypnagogic, from the Greek. Hypnos, sleep. Agogos, leading. Leading into sleep. Not a state. A corridor. One you walk down every night and have never once seen the far end of. Which means your memory of an entire night is mostly a construction. You remember lying down. You remember waking up. Your brain joins those two surviving points and treats everything between them as nothing. It was not nothing. You went through N1, N2, deep sleep, and REM. You dreamed. You monitored the room. You moved. You surfaced briefly and went back down. Almost none of it made it into the story you call your life. Tonight, you will have one final thought you will never identify. It might be important. It might be ridiculous. It might be a sentence that never reaches its ending. And somewhere inside that unfinished thought, the person trying to fall asleep will disappear. Not because your brain turned off, because it stopped writing you down. Morning will arrive. You will open your eyes and remember nothing about the exact moment you left. Falling asleep is not an event the witness can remember. It is the moment the witness stops writing.